Everyone, and welcome once again to this very beautiful evening for the May edition of the TRI-METROPOLITAN book review. As always, I will give us a brief of what the book club is all about, and then we'll go into the matter of the day. So for those who are just joining for the very first time, would like to welcome everyone. We are truly glad that you could join this evening. And it's truly a journey, a reading journey. And we want to bring back a reading culture to our society. So the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club is actually an initiative of Trinity House. And the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club commenced about 2.5 years ago. And ever since then, we've been holding a book review on a monthly basis. We've reviewed so many books, from motivational books, leadership books, lifestyle books, health books, and a host of others. And basically, for some of us, we may be wondering who Trinity House is. Trinity House is a non-denominational, free-flow center powered with a vision to changing lives, fulfilling destinies, and transforming nations. Trinity House is located at Trinity Avenue through Water Corporation of Legally Ayoride, Victoria Island, Lagos. Our senior pastor is Pastor Itua Igodalu. So without much further ado, I would just like us to quickly go into the matter of the day. And again, for those who are joining for the very first time, I'd like to just give us like an overview of how the program will run. So usually we'll have a senior pastor say a few words. I don't know if he has joined now. Otherwise, he will come in the middle of the program and you would see him and he will speak to us. And then I will introduce our host, or rather our guest for today. And thereafter, our guest will have about 45 minutes to 1 hour to speak on this book titled Start With Why, and authored by Simon Sinek. So after the review, he will review for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. And after the review, the platform will be open to all of us to make our comments, to ask questions, and to just speak generally about the book that Mr. Austin Olorunshola has reviewed. And like I said, I'll quickly introduce him now, and thereafter he would open up his video, and of course, you would listen to him when he switches on his audio. So very quickly, let me give a very brief introduction of Mr. Austin Olorunshola. And by the way, this is the second time Mr. Olorunshola will be coming as a guest. The other time, he actually reviewed a book by this same author, Simon Sinek, titled Leaders Eat Right. It was a fantastic evening. And I know that this evening will even be better than his first coming, as it were. So, Mr. Olarunshola is the chairman, Energy Institute of Nigeria. He's the chief consultant, Energeticals. It's a company into advisory services. He is a non-executive director in several companies in Nigeria. He previously held senior executive positions in RGIP, Shell International, and of course, the federal government of Nigeria. He is retired, and usually he will say he currently runs errands for his beautiful family. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you can't clap. I know because you're muted and you don't have your videos on, but on your behalf, please, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Austin Olarunshola. Mr. Olarunshola, you're welcome to the platform as always. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. I know once again, I must have stressed you a lot coming here today, but it's always a fantastic time with you. Thank you very much, sir, and welcome once again.
Thank you, Dr. T. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We can.
Okay, good evening, everybody. And again, thank you for inviting me again. But let me just start with a disclaimer quickly. So I did Leaders Eat Last some time ago. This particular one was chosen for me by Dr. T.O. It's not, I didn't choose it by myself. It's incidentally, it's not a very big book, but as soon as I saw it's the same author, I grabbed it, okay? But I didn't know that it wasn't a straightforward storybook like that. It's very deep in leadership thoughts. And there's quite a lot of controversy around it too. And I think I'll just say a few words around that. Other than that, I think as soon as I got into the book, especially to the middle pages, I started liking the book actually. So thank you for choosing it, Dr. T. All right, I do have, because of the complicated way it is, I had to just put a few things on some slides, which I would like to just share with you all as I speak. Please let me know when you see the slides.
Okay, your video is not on though. Is it deliberate, sir?
No, it should be.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's my end. I don't know. I can't see you. Okay, I can see you now.
I can see myself.
Okay, I think I can see you now. Yes.
Okay, all right.
Although it's a little dark, but we can see the slides as well.
You know, there's a NEPA problem in Nigeria, so.
Absolutely. Okay, so we can see the slides.
Okay, good. All right. So let's just go straight into it. I think the essence of the book itself, it's actually the title of it. Start with why, but it's the follow-up, which is how great leaders inspire everyone to take action. So there are two entities here. There's a great leader, but then there's a bit of it, which is the everyone. And I'll be speaking on both basically as I continue. Really, this cover page says everything really I wanted to talk about. But I just needed to break it down a little bit, then a few slides, and then we can talk a bit more around it. But first, maybe about Simon himself, which I talked about before. He was born in London, raised in Joburg, and settled in the States. So he's a global citizen. He's seen it all. He's a lawyer, he's a motivational speaker, he's an org consultant himself. So, and he's written, I think, about 5 or 6 books right now. So he's quite deep, especially in leadership thoughts and writings. Like I said, the book itself is not very big, less than 250 pages, broken into 6 parts, 14 chapters. 14 chapters, and yeah, and then 1,000 afterward. But like I said, the core of it really is in part 2. It's about just 3 chapters. Every other thing in the book after that is all anecdotes. It's just stories and examples of how it fits the model that somehow Simon has been able to develop, called the Golden Circle. Again, like I say, it has a bit of controversy, especially from the leadership community around the world. And I will say a few was also that. But just the way I read books, I read the introduction and then I go to the last page. So, and then I know whether to continue or not. So that's exactly what happened. And when I saw that, first the book was about leadership and how to inspire followership. So that is, it ticked the box for me. But it also was very emphatic on the fact that leadership requires just 2 critical elements. One is vision, basically, why are you existing? But secondly, its ability to actually communicate that vision, because again, like I said, there are 2 entities here. There's leadership, but then there's also followership. And that those were the key deep thoughts around virtually every page of the book. And it tries to answer questions around why are some people or why are some organizations more successful than the other, even if we're all endowed with the same set of things. If we're both given $1 million each, why will I be more successful than you? Secondly, why do some leaders command greater loyalty? Yeah, and this is really where followership really then comes in very well. So we'll look at most of this. So let me just give a brief summary, just in case some people may need to leave early. The first is that starting with why helps leaders and organizations to begin with the greater end in mind. One of the things I need to say about this book too, to really understand it very well, you need to also read some other books, like some leadership books from Stephen Covey, from several other, Larry Bossidy, and all of that. And it's only when you read them, conjunctively, that you can really have a very good understanding of it. But it's quite apt that really starting with why helps you to begin to think about basically where you're headed at the end of today. So the 3 key messages I would just like to leave you guys with today. The first is that delivery of the business or an organization requires people. You can't do it alone. And he was, Simon was pretty clear about that. You need doers, and of course, you also need leaders or thinkers or visionaries and all that. That's also fine. But the ability to inspire those around you and to achieve remarkable success starts with why. That's just his core belief. Okay, you have to start with why. Why am I starting this? Okay, and all that. Then he also says that any organization, or maybe most organizations, can explain what they do, because those are tangible stuff. These are showroom stuff. Anybody can say it. Some can explain how they do it. Not just a few can explain how they do it, but only very few can clearly articulate why they do things. Yeah, only very few. Most organizations don't even get there. It's not necessary. Let's just stay with what. And then the third key message I like to leave you with is that leaders and organizations that start with why, they're not known for manipulation. And so they stand the test of time. So when you see organizations that have been around for 50 years, 100 years, you know, and all, if you check very well, they really search their why very well before they actually went to this deep into it. So what is why? Yeah. The way the why came up, and there are several. I tried to count it, I couldn't count all, but it's all why, which is the core of the model that Simon actually put up in there. But there are some key attributes of why he really talked about. He says why. It's about demonstrating your purpose, isn't it? Your reason for existence, inspiration, motivation, and of course, very broad consideration for wider stakeholders. So it's not when you are trying to find your why, it's really not just for you alone. You have to think a little bit broad. Okay. The other attribute, second one, is about focus. It's okay. The why must have real clarity of focus and meaning and understanding, yeah, of the direction, as well as planning for action. Okay. Third is about stimulating curiosity. It has to encourage learning and must be differentiating in essence and identity. Differentiation has to happen, okay, because we're in a very competitive world anyway. So even in your why, as early as trying to develop your why, you must be thinking around how do I differentiate myself from the next person on the next street. It must solve problems, okay? It has to, your why has to have attributes of problem solving, okay? And the fifth one is, of course, is communication. It can be too much, okay? Because that is the vehicle you really use to inspire, or one of the vehicles you use to inspire and justify the actions or decisions you are taking. Okay? And eventually, that's also your route or your pathway to coveting loyalty of people to follow you. A lot of this is so well articulated, especially in the military hierarchies, you know, and all that. But we see quite a few of these also in very good businesses that have stood the test of time. The other two key attributes of why is it's fostering engagement, okay, to nurture trust and loyalty, again, like I said. But the last is really around continuous improvement, because you can't stay in one place, okay? Feedback loops and all that. And being flexible to adaptation, okay, or new innovation. These are, so just a simple sentence of your why must have shades of all these attributes. Okay? And those companies that are all mentioned, organizations that were mentioned, like Apple, like the Wright brothers, or individuals like Martin Luther King and all that, if you really check them out very well, these attributes of why were actually very well captured early in there. Yeah, and these are some of those very successful people or organizations, like I said, the Wright brothers, Apple, Disney, for example, they've been around for over 100 years, you know. They all had clarity, they had emotional connection, it's very inspirational. Okay. Yeah, we also have examples of those organizations or movements that haven't particularly made it pretty well. Yeah, he talked about Sam Langley, talked about the issues around Dell, the January 6th thing in the US that all happened was a movement that failed. Yeah, so there are good or very successful ones, but they're also very so that's just a summary of it all. And if yeah, if you really want to take just that home, that's really it. That's really it. But let's just go deep into to the path itself. And the book actually starts from, yeah, it's good to start from a world without why. Okay. And what do they do? Such worlds, usually they articulate decisions based on data, and you think these guys are really great people, okay? Because they will tell you it's data-driven with all sorts of assumptions. But the data could be wrong. The assumptions may not necessarily be robust enough, okay? The analogs or the benchmarks they use may just not even be fit for purpose, okay? And when you combine all this, that's basically a decision stream will come out at the end of the day. But quite a lot of organizations have fallen into this path and became more like what I call garbage in, garbage out. And that's why even in my own area of business, which is energy, energy across and across really, we spend so much time at the front end, basically designing whatever we do. We call it front end loading. That's really the time. Whatever you want to get right has to be right at that point in time, which is again, if you relate it to what Simon is saying, you have to start with your why. Why? It is at that point in time. The more whys you can ask, the closer you actually the closer you get to the real meat of the matter. But quite a lot of other organizations today, which we all know, they actually choose to live in a world of manipulation. So they don't even bother to ask why, okay? But maybe it's not their fault. It's probably the fault of all of us. So they basically just use also tactics of carrots and sticks for all. As soon as you see, buy three and pay three for the price of one, all of us will rush into it, you know, because that's it's all carrots and sticks, you know. Or you see some adverts and say, oh, you can lose weight within 3 days without even doing anything. Everybody will rush in there because that's the kind of, we all want shortcuts, okay, quick fixes, you know, quick gains, but they all come at a cost. Organizations or people or leaders that think starting with why, they don't go in this route at all. Then Simon moved on and then proposed, like I said, this is the meat of this book. Basically telling us, sorry guys, there's a hugely accepted alternative perspective, okay, which is more grounded in inspirational leadership, okay, which is called the golden cycle concept or the golden cycle framework. And it's about why, but you have to start with why, how, as well as what. Being a very powerful, I call it timeless concept, because you can actually use it for long-term stuff, but you can also use it for short-term stuff. Doesn't really matter. The why basically is scratching to the core until you get to the real purpose, why you are doing a particular thing. What's your cause? Okay, what's really motivating? What's the belief? Okay? Those are the core questions you'll be asking until you get in there. Once that is done, then you can then move to the how, which is basically describing the process, the core actions you are basically going to be taking, who is to do what and when, okay? and what are people doing, and then before you even talk about what it's going to churn out, which is basically the results, your outputs, your products. And Simon actually showed, and I've talked about very good examples before from those who probably have gone through this model, even without knowing it, and how they have actually really, really excelled. You have to go through it inside out, okay, starting with why. You can't go, if you go the other way around, it's, yeah, you may achieve a bit of result, but it's really not, it probably won't be sustained. Yeah, that's really what Simon is saying. The why basically is it's your purpose. Like I said, what's your purpose? And by the time you get to the answer of it, it basically describes it purely your identity, the purpose that drives you or that drives an organization. Then the second cycle of it, of course, is the how. How do you do what you do? As simple as that. And in that too comes in your values, okay, your principles, what you live with, what you don't live with, your methods, your processes, okay, and all the actions. And then the third part of it, the outer part, your tangible products, like I've already talked about. Simon then went ahead to actually say, this model actually is very similar to the brain, to the human brain. And that's basically how the limbic brain and and the neocortex actually really work, whereby the neocortex, similar to the warts, are more like tangible, rational stuff, okay, that you can feel, you can see. Whereas the limbic brain, which is really inside at the core of it, that is the area that controls your behavior, your decision making, your trust, capabilities, and actions, and all that. And this gave him a lot of credibility because he moved from model to nature, and that was well commended. But he didn't stop there. And then said, look, a lot of things that have happened before, all sorts of social movements and all that, can even be also compared to exactly the same model, okay? So from model to brain, but then if you look at great, especially successful movements like the one that Martin Luther King led and all that, it's all again around the why, the how, and the what. And that's all Simon did to begin to even build a lot more credibility around this book, even though, like I said, it had a lot of pushbacks from some leadership scholars. Yeah. But he also went further ahead to now say, look, yes, this model is there, but there are some routines, okay? For it to really work properly, it has to be properly guided by what he calls 3 critical elements of certainty. So your why, which is your purpose, it's got to be very, very clear. Okay, so if you write anything that is fuzzy, you have gotten it wrong right from day one, and it's going to live with you forever. I.e., you are not going to get there to anywhere. Your how, which is your processes and all that stuff, you have to be disciplined at it. Okay, you have to so excellence has to be part of it. Have to control yourself. Okay. And then, of course, your words, basically what he was looking at there is around being consistent. So you don't make products today that is totally different from what we're going to be seeing next week or the week after. So clarity of why, the discipline of how you do your stuff, but then consistency of what you churn out, how they see you, of your showroom, you know. Those three key elements are so important if you really want to be successful either as a leader or as an organization, and you want to be, you know, actually sustainable. Yeah. The part three then begins to now bring in fully the entity, which is the community, okay, the followership. And yeah, it clearly says a leader without followers, I think it's just taking a stroll. It's certainly not a leader because it's not anybody. And I think that I've seen quite so many leaders like that in my very short life. Yeah, so leaders need followers who are leaders in their own rights. Okay, they are how leaders in their own rights. Yeah. So it says the dynamics between the leaders and the followers is symbiotic. Okay, and that is the link between visioning or realizing the direction setting. Okay, so the followers execute the vision, they provide feedbacks, whether things are working well or not. They support the whole agenda. But more importantly, they develop trust, which is actually the pathway to loyalty. Okay, they develop trust, and that trust has to be a symbiotic thing. The leader has to trust his followers, followership must trust the leaders, and that's what begins to enhance ownership, collective ownership, collaboration, as well as performance. I try to, like I said, I linked some of these things with other leadership books. My way of describing trust is just three keys, C words. It's about character, it's about capacity, and it's about competence. So when you tell me you trust me, I think, oh yeah, you're looking about my character, you're also looking at my capacity, looking at my competence. But the key point here, which Simon emphasizes, that it begins to emerge and even evolves when why is properly aligned with the how and the what. Yeah. And great leaders, that's what they do as much as possible. You see that alignment. They won't tell you this is it, but then go this way. No. Not you see perfect alignment between these cycles of why, how, and what. And then he also used the law of diffusion to capture how you can begin to immerse or really permeate, okay, within the community, within the followership. And they basically saying loss of diffusion is around, if it's like if you just even spray whatever in one side of a room, before you know it, it fills the whole room. Okay, and that's the way it is. You don't need to carry virtually everybody, maybe a burden at some point in time. Just pick a few early adopters or key people that really buy into it very quickly. They will help you. They will help you basically propagate into the organization, whether it's business, whether it's military, whether it's family, whether it's a community. Those people, they will move everything before you know it, into the early majority or even the late majority. You don't need to bother so much about the laggards, because some people will just not get converted anyway, and that's the way they have been made. But he also, Simon also talked about the fact that you need a lot of energy as a leader. You need a lot of charisma when you are trying to rally people behind you in terms of communication, getting people to move from your belief to what they can call we believe. Okay, and that takes quite a lot too. And it's all about inspiring people. Like I said, the how leaders are really the one that that actually gets things done. If you just stay on why, fantastic purpose, very well articulated and all that. If you don't move beyond that, it's hunger that will finish you. You certainly have to get into the community of the why leaders, because they are the ones that basically help to move things forward. And when you are going to do that, there are some just key principles. You must have, you have to articulate things properly, very clear, compelling vision, the mission, the goals, okay, and aligned values, okay. So all that needs to be pretty clear. You have to be passionate when you are communicating, and almost really emotive with very visible commitments and enthusiasm. You have to connect personally with some people, okay? So, like I said, those are the early adopters. You have to connect really, and you have to use real life examples to make relatable part of the vision. Okay, provide clear and actionable steps for participation. You have to show the impact and the recognition of, so what's the size of the prize? How are we going to look like tomorrow? And let people know basically what's really going to happen. What's the new world going to really look like? But lastly, and very important, you have to lead by example. You can't come out and talk, and then tomorrow you are doing another thing. Just doesn't work that way. He also tried to do some alignment with the traditional stuff, what people know as vision, as mission, strategy or goals, as well as values, because these were all fully articulated in several leadership books, even before his own. And it tries to show where, why, how, and what fits within all that. And I think he did a good job of that too. He also talked about the importance of communication. The most important thing around it is actually listening. And I know very many of us find it so difficult to even listen properly, especially to followership. It says it's so important to communicate, but more importantly, to even listen. Over time, I mean, once you get yourself to such a situation where people understand that you are you're a fully a successful leader in terms of why, how, and what, even your logo alone speaks for yourself. Okay, so the communication actually continues even when you are not there at all. Okay. I like my team, Arsenal. Anybody knows they're the best in the world. Many times the best don't win, but we know that, like the last time, and it's always so. And there's no controversy about that. I think we all agree to that. Part 5 of this book then talks on how to sustain yourself, basically, and saying basically that the biggest challenge is success. You know, some people say it's not how to get to the top that is the problem; it's how to stay at the top. That's basically what the whole of part 5 was saying, and it tried to explain it. That gaining the clarity of why it's not really the hardest. Rather, it is the discipline to stay the why. And discipline too is a function of time. You may be disciplined for the first week or two, but after a year or two, we now know who you are, okay? And it tries to explain it with a chart like this, where, okay, your what continues, okay, still moving in the right direction. But probably because it is moving in that direction, it's all by way of manipulation. They're just manipulating people. Because at some point, we see where your why completely either it's in the horizontal or actually slumping over time. That's what you call when why gets really fuzzy. So you then begin to see a lot of misalignments between your why, your how, and your what. You see a lot of splits happen. You see a lot of manipulation of the system, and of course, the whole set of stakeholders. And if you're not careful, probably that's the beginning of the end of your business, okay, or your leadership. So we need to watch out for situations like this if you want to really be a durable, build a durable organization, durable family, durable leadership, durable, whatever it is. You have to avoid situations like this where why comes for all the time. You have to connect back. Why did we start this? Why? Okay. Yeah, it's again, it's a process of rediscovery continuously. Okay. And it says if you follow your why, walk the talk, others will follow you pretty well. Others will follow. Okay, so let me try and do some conclusion so that we can have some discussion. Like I said, it's a very small book. Probably let me start with some of the criticism. You won't see it in the book. I saw all that in all the books that are associated with Simon's book. Some of his colleagues believe that he tried so much to oversimplify the complexity of business, complexity of people, and complexity of leadership. People, for example, some books say actually, even that when bad people, even if bad people use why, how, and what, nothing will go right eventually, just because they're terrible people. Some people just see things completely half empty all the time. It's so difficult if you use this type of model, it may not work for you. Yeah. Okay. So, but they claim that it's too oversimplified. Yeah, the model is good, but yeah, they just believe it's oversimplified. The second evidence, they claim, the second criticism was that the fact that a lot of the evidence we use are all anecdotal rather than empirical. So a lot of the things have happened before the model came. In science, you build your model first before live application. So it's more of like I call it retrofitting. Yes, the model fits, but those things didn't, those successes didn't particularly happen because of the model. We're trying to still see if there are organizations, if there are big businesses, if there are companies that have been built based on that same golden circle concept, and let's see. But that's that's another set of criticism we got from quite a few of similar leaders like Simon. Some said the concept is very inspiring, no doubt, but practical application appears also very difficult and limited. This book was actually not this book. The one that gave this was actually talking around the fact that even the concept of asking why may be difficult in some cultures. Yeah, so who are you to look at an enemy and be asking why, to get into the core of the matter. And then others talked around the doubtful impact. One even says the originality is even doubted. That yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's a very good book, but I think it's a lot more complete when read in conjunction with similar books. But this is the top 5 criticism from other leaders. But if I will conclude, I would say it's a very good model. It has a very broad applicability around inspiration, challenging conventional thinking, making sure that you stay the line or the course of your original action, but of course, making sure that you also have loyal people always around. Okay. I say here too that finding your why defines an imagined end game. Yeah, that's correct, which is similar to the vision. But that's actually what you need to drive your how, as well as to deliver your what. Some people say there's a saying here that if you don't know where you are going, any road will take you there. So you just have to have an idea right from the beginning where you are going. Otherwise, you may end up in Cotonou or somewhere else. Yeah. As a summary, I think these are 5 key takeaways for you. The book talks around the importance of purpose, and it shared very extensive stories and anecdotes around the golden circle and how to use it. Talks about how leaders can inspire people to work, but also differentiating yourself, especially in a competitive market. It's also very important. But lastly, most important, is how to sustain yourself and not die tomorrow and then start another one again. No, how to really be durable and resilient, okay, and stand the test of a very long time. I think I should stop there. Yeah, you've given me 40 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olorunshola. I actually gave you 45 minutes, so you have 5 more minutes, but it's fine. As usual, a fantastic review. And once again, thank you for coming back to the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club platform. We would go into comments, questions, and all of that. But before we do, I think our senior pastor has joined. So I'd like for him to say a few words before we go ahead. Let me check. I think Pastor Itwa is 1 minute.
I think it's just good. Let's take the comments, then I can say something before the end.
Okay,
so
okay.
Let me enjoy the comments. Let me thank
Pastor, good evening.
Let me thank the head of the cabal for a fantastic the cabal chief for a fantastic job. Thank you. I caught the tail end of it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, so thank you very much once again, Mr. Olorunshola. And of course, like you said, leadership is very important. And people who love going to work are more productive and more creative. Definitely. That that stood out for me, because if you don't like what you do, or if you are not under the right leader, you definitely won't be productive or creative or innovative, as it were. And starting with why, again, means that we are demonstrating purpose. We are providing clarity of purpose, or clarity of focus, as it were, and giving understanding to the plan of action. So this book actually very good. And I would say that it's actually like a follow-up to the last review you did about 2 years ago, or was it sometime last year, early last year? Leaders Eat Last, yeah, and by the same author. So for me, it's just like the second course following this. And, you know, looking at the why also solves a lot of problems rather than just the what or how we do things. And it's not just for businesses, even as Simon Sinek had said, it's for us as individuals as well. So he was relating a lot of things to business. But again, it flows, it resonates with me, and it has to do with each and every, it's a leadership book anyway, so it has to do with each and every one of us, how we're good leaders or even good followers. And if we're followers, we're leaders in some respect. And yes, and I like how he started about the Langley and the Wright brothers. And, you know, so it was a bit educative for me because there were some things I didn't know. And he was referring to things about the 1960s, years and years before or decades before I was born. So yes, so I mean, I learned a lot, and it was good talking about values, principles, beliefs, what you believe in. And, you know, so everything comes into play here. So it's been a fantastic review. I'm not about to do another book review, but I mean, it was difficult for me to understand, I wouldn't lie. You know, but I was like, I told me what's going on with you. I will read it over and over again. And I felt comfortable when I got some direct messages, individual message to say, Dr. told me I'm struggling with this book. I said, okay, don't worry. We're in this together. That means I'm not alone and all of that. But it's a good book because one of the other book clubs that I follow, Latana Ventures, guess what? On the 30th of this month, they're going to review this same book. And I was shocked to get the invite. I'm like, oh, this same book. So, I mean, this month of May is really about starting with why. So once again, thank you very much, Mr. Olorunsola. And we'll now begin to take comments and questions or observations or all of those things. So please, you can raise your virtual hand or you can unmute. I'm not sure there will be a lot of chaos if everybody speaks at the same time, but please, you can unmute or raise your virtual hand if you have any comments regarding this book review or what you have read thus far.
Can I talk?
Yes, you can, ma'am.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much. Reading through the book, I had difficulty, but with the review, I'm able to understand more, and I have gained more than when I read the book. It got too technical for me when I was reading, but with this review, I have learned a lot because of the simple language. And I have taken one very point which he said, if you follow your why, others will follow you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma. Thank you for the contributions and all your contribution. And to be honest, I struggled with it as well. But by the time I got to chapter 5, it became a little easier. Yeah, so then and I could flow with everything. So we have people in the chat room, but we'll prefer that you raise your virtual hands and speak, even if it's just to say thank you to Mr. Olorunsola, because yeah, so I'm not seeing a lot of hands up. It's either we didn't finish reading the book or Mr. Olorunsola did justice to the book as usual, and we had fun listening to him. It was easier when I was listening to you. Okay, you can unmute Onyema Abaze.
Thank you so much for the review. Yes, the review made the book much easier to understand and actually brought life to the book. And I'm really happy you also did the critic, because I also had that same struggle, the second critic, about the examples he used and tying those examples to just why. It was kind of it was very limiting. I felt like that wasn't the complete story. For instance, the Wright brothers, it wasn't just the why, it was actually the how that made the Wright brothers succeed, because they understood that the plane shouldn't be that heavy, unlike what the other guy had done. So they actually understood nature better, and that was why they could explore it, and then they could do something different, and they had a different calculation and ultimately a different outcome. And also, if you read Built to Last, you will struggle with this book, because Built to Last actually talks about why in the purpose, but it really narrows down, the why, to making sure that, look, what is motivating you should be much more than just something superficial. It should be something very deep that will make you stand the test of time. So reading this book, it was kind of difficult to be able to just hang on to everything he was saying, because he just skipped through the why and didn't really make us really understand how deep our whys should be. Because if you don't have a very deep why, you will struggle along the way and you'll fall off the path.
No, and you're absolutely correct. The emphasis, or his emphasis, was a lot more on the why. But why he did that was because once your why is wrong, then don't bother too much blaming the how, because that is what costs your how. And once your how is also not sharp enough, of course, the thing that will suffer most will then eventually be your what, and that's why I tried to relate it to even what we do in engineering, which we call, like I said, front-end loading. You better get your design right, okay? Because if your design is wrong, you can't correct it when the building starts. It is too late. It's just too late, okay? So everything you just need to do, must happen at the design stage, even if you have to take all the time. Okay. When you go to places where, for example, roads are constructed, and all that, or all these bridges, and I see them around the world, you don't even see where all those molds are happening. Okay, they just go do it someday. And over a weekend, they just bring everything together and just start coupling. And you start to wonder, how does everything fit? It's all in the design. It's all in the design, okay? Which is getting your why right. If your why is properly defined, it will help you in your how as well as in your what. That's basically what Simon is saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that comment.
Thank you for your comments. Another thing that jumped at me, or that I liked, that I felt it was a bit funny, was when you said that leaders definitely need followers, and you said that a leader without followers are just men taking a stroll. I laughed when you said that, but it's very, very right. I mean, someone who doesn't have followers is just definitely taking a walk alone. And it's just moving around in circles, as it were. So yes, I like the fact that I like that, and also that the golden circle is connected to the human brain, and everything that we do in life, or basically, just revolve around our brain. So it depends on what you're thinking at that time. So are you thinking of the why? Are you thinking of the how? Or are you thinking of the what? So that also said, spoke to me in one way, in one respect, to say that, the brain also has a lot to do with it. What you're thinking at every point in time is actually affects your success, even as a leader or as a human being as a whole. So yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Olorunshola. Let me check if there are other people raising their hands.
Actually, that bit gave the book a lot more credibility when he was able to now relate his model with how the brain is structured and is functioning. Okay, that gave him, in fact, he actually made a TED talk totally on that alone. Okay, and people started. I mean, a lot of people that were against some of the things or some of his conclusions. They started to now sort of mellow down a little bit and say, oh, okay. If this is the way the brain functions and this is the way God made it, then trying to build a model on why, how, what that mimics the brain must actually stand the test of time. You know, somehow he was able to go through that, and yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you once again. Okay, so let me check if any hands raised. Please raise your hands. Please make a comment, say something, not in the chat room. I'm not going to read the chat room tonight. But please say something. Or we didn't read the book. I think we'll start putting sanctions for those who are members of the book club and didn't finish reading the book. I think I might be the first to be sanctioned.
You have to start that with why too.
With why, exactly. Okay. Okay, Grace Ikani, you can unmute.
Okay, good evening, Dr. Tommy. Good evening, my big brother. Thank you so much for this review. And I would just like to say, like every other one has said, it has brought a bit more clarity. I have actually read the book a long time ago, and then this time was another opportunity to scan through. Yes, I should be sanctioned as well because I didn't, like Dr. Tommy, I didn't finish the book as well. So that's coming from. But in all honesty, this review has brought a bit more clarity and a whole lot of, I think, new insight into life in particular, the benefits of why in doing everything that pertains to us as individuals. And I think going forward, we should roll more with our why, and then in combination with the how and the what, and even the when, all of that should roll together as one. Yeah. And I also like to say, gunners for life. It's not only when you win that you are the best.
Thank you for that. That's most important.
You actually caused commotion in the chat room with the Arsenal, with the gunners for life while you were speaking. I was just laughing. So yeah. So I think that's about it. Thank you, Mr. Grace. And thank you everyone that has contributed tonight. And Mrs. Aziz, Auntie Giola, please unmute.
Okay.
Is Giola on?
I am on. Yes.
Oh my shit.
I am sure
yes,
that she was
I
here.
am on. Salon Shah, thank you so much. Now, I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian here.
Yes.
I'm looking at the why, and I'm looking in terms of disruptive leadership. And in thinking along those lines, I'm thinking that we're talking about disruptive leadership to bring about leadership who would bring about the change that we need, and some current or consistent whys, because your whys and saying that the why must be clear, focused, and maintain the discipline to stay is talking about consistency, right?
Yes.
Now, so bringing that into disruptive leadership and innovation, right? That is when we begin to think that our whys may be getting fuzzy, and does not necessarily mean that we have not gotten the concept of why correct.
Yes. So
I don't know whether go ahead.
You are absolutely correct with that charge, and that is why he also said in defining your why. That's why I gave those attributes of why, 7 attributes, and defining it. As a matter of fact, don't don't constrain yourself. Even still staying within a focused why, but don't constrain yourself. That is why he also mentioned that if you remember the why of Apple, it's not to build computers. That's why they could do other things. Whereas the why of Dell is to build computers. And when the opportunities for other things came, they couldn't go into it. That's why he said your why must be. And when I do interviews, for example, executive interviews, I ask people, why do you want this job, for example? And you get an array of answers. But some people will actually tell you, oh, I've looked at your website. I resonate with the values you have. You know, they don't. Then those kind of broad answers can accommodate quite a lot of things. Yeah. Instead of if you box yourself at the level of getting a why, then actually you get thin and thinner in the how as well as in the what. So if you look at Apple's why, for example, it says is it not almost like just to make life easy and better for people? That's all. Something like that. So it's not saying, oh, to make a slick computer that will have a Zoom call. No. You don't do that. So you still keep your why focused but broad.
Broad.
It's almost, yeah. It's almost
yeah, that answers it. Keep your why open, but keep it broad.
Yes.
And don't limit yourself. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Aziz. And somebody sent me a private message now that I was just trying to read.
Yeah.
And the person says that the power that we usually forget the power of early adopters or early followers, that they actually provide motivation to the pioneers and encourage more people to begin to follow. And I think that is germane. I think that is,
That's the law of diffusion, which I talked about. So you don't necessarily need to carry or wait to carry everybody along. Those early adopters, they're the ones that are basically going to carry on and carry the message and really deepen the why to a level where people actually become owners of the why and then become loyal. Again, like I said at the beginning, the title of the book itself, read the small letters. It is How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone. So there's leaders and there's everyone. Yeah, and both must be taken together. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Pastor Ito, are you ready now?
Yeah, okay. Well, not much to say other than to thank everyone for being here today and for participating very actively in this program and this review of the book Why, and also to thank Pastor Olonshola for that very amazing review and doing the work. You could see the thoroughness of what he had done. And I like comments of people saying he made them understand the book a bit more. So I want to thank him very, very much. And also Tosin for listening in. I don't know where in the world she is, but I can see her face there listening in to this book review. And Tommy, you've done a great job. You've done a great job keeping this going and enlarging and expanding it. I look forward to the next book that we're going to review, and I look forward to everyone trying to keep faith with our desire that we all read at least one book a month. Very, very important, and then we can come and discuss it and see especially the things that we have learned, the the life's lessons we have learned from those books that will take us through life. I think we should have a segment on that where we actually bring out what life lessons we've learned to help us in our journey of life. Once again, thank you very, very much, everyone. God bless you. My cabal chief, thank you for keeping the cabal going. God bless you. See you all tomorrow. Service starts at 9 tomorrow. So make sure we see you all there in Jesus' name. Chochovi, it's good to see you on the platform. God bless you. And of course, my president, thank you so much for being on this platform. God bless you, OBC. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Very much, Pastor Itwa. We really appreciate your support and encouragement for the Tri-Metropolitan Book Club. And yeah, we look forward to subsequent reviews. And I've taken your point. I think it's actually important that we take a particular month and just to talk about the life lessons that we've learned so far. And I've received some direct or private messages saying that some are still lagging behind in some previous books. And so I'm just thinking we might be running too fast. And there was a time sometime last year that we actually took a month off just to review past books that we had done on Zoom. So yeah, I think it's a good time. Probably next month or upper month, we would take the life lessons, have some discussions rather than reviewing another book, but just have a conversation. So yes, thank you for the idea. And yes, we appreciate you. So once again, we'd like to say a very big thank you to everyone. And for those who are tuning in for the very first time, once again, this is the Tri-Metropolitan Book Club. It's an initiative of Trinity House. And like I mentioned earlier, we've been doing this for about 2.5 years on a monthly basis, reviewing various interesting books from leadership, just like today, motivational, inspirational, health, lifestyle, science fiction, and all sorts of books. Last month, we actually did the first sort of religious Christian book, God Fashions. That was a wonderful time with Reverend Goke. So yes, we've done quite a bit this year with respect to the authors come to review their books. So we had Oti Lunge, who reviewed Dreams as God's Love Language 2 months ago. Last month, it was Pastor Goke Goka on God Fashions. And we've had a lot of interesting reviews. So these reviews are usually via Zoom. We've only had one physical one, like I always say, at the first year anniversary of the Tri-Metropolitan Book Club. And that physical one was with Professor Wale Soyinka. I would never forget that. It was really, really an exciting one. It was a physical review somewhere in Victoria Island at the Cilantro restaurant. So once again, we'd like to say a very big thank you. The book club, we have over 200 people now in that community. And what we just want to do is to continue to ensure that everybody reads and we bring back a reading culture to the society. So Trinity House, like I said, is the brain behind the Tri-Metropolitan Book Club. And Pastor Ito has said it already. We hold our services 9 o'clock on Sundays and on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock. So tomorrow is a good time to join us. And it's a Children's Day service. You're going to have fun listening to those little ones that God has really blessed. So thank you. Trinity House, okay, is located at Trinity Avenue through Water Corporation Drive off Legally Ayoride Street, Victoria Island. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.